everybody, Matt Maran here for another weekly update. So there's lots of news to go over here this week, but first I want to apologize to all of my Friday afternoon viewers. This video is a little bit late. That is a very good reason this week. My little baby girl was born, and so thankfully she's happy and healthy. Beth is doing great as well, and we literally just got home from the hospital here on Friday, so I'm scrambling to get this video out. Yeah, so I apologize it's late, but yeah. It's a good reason, so we're very excited, and so also cut me a little bit of slack if this video is if I'm a little less energetic, because I'm running on some less sleep than I usually do, I guess. So anyway, but lots of crazy stories to go over here this week, and some pretty awesome stuff that's come out finally. So first, Honda has finally revealed one picture of the 2022 Honda Civic in its production form. We've already seen the prototype version several months ago, but now we see the first look at the actual production version, and there will be a full reveal on April 28th, so that's when we'll get that. But thankfully it looks really close to the prototype version that we saw a few months back, and it's very good. It kind of just looks like a baby Accord, honestly, but I think it looks really nice. This is also the touring trim, they said, so there will of course be lower trims that look a little less snazzy, but yeah, I think it looks really good. Hopefully we'll also get the mechanical details along with that official reveal here at the end of this month. And yeah, Honda says it's going to be on sale this summer actually as a 2022 model, so coming very quickly as well, so great to hear that. Honda has also trademarked a new logo here for this new Trailsport name that they trademarked a while back. Now we have a logo to go with that name, which suggests they're more serious about actually using this name on a vehicle. And so Carbuzz discovered this new logo, which yeah, it'll either go as a standalone new model, maybe this Trailsport will be an entirely new model, or maybe it could be just a trim line for like the Pilot and Passport and things like that. That's totally possible as well, so we'll have to wait and see. This isn't an official thing. This was just spotted in the trademark offices or whatever, so we'll have to wait and see when they want to spill the beans on that, but awesome to see that. Hyundai this week has finally revealed their new small pickup truck, the 2022 Santa Cruz. After 6 years of waiting since the concept was shown, we now have the production version. So while the front end shares some styling cues with the new Tucson, this appears to be much more than a Tucson with a bed, with several large differences. And actually, Hyundai said that they did engineer the Tucson with the Santa Cruz in mind. So from the ground up, this was kind of designed to be its own thing, and just, they made sure that the Tucson platform would be able to do what they wanted it to do with the Santa Cruz. That's actually part of why it took so long. Autoblog actually asked Hyundai, why it took so long, 6 years to go to production. They were going to originally use the old Tucson platform, then they decided that the old Tucson platform wouldn't have supported what they wanted to do with the Santa Cruz, which is why they waited and then, released it alongside the new Tucson. So anyway, but moving on here to the actual vehicle, it's got some chunkier bumpers and more aggressive looks than you get on a Tucson. The sides also have more cladding, and then you have some smaller rear doors there, but it is a crew cab, which is a difference over the concept, which was just a two-door truck there. But anyway, so that all leads into the truck bed's angled pillar and of course the actual truck bed. And out back, it's totally unique, of course, with the bold Santa Cruz logo stamped into the tailgate there on the small bed. And that is one little caveat here, is the bed is a little bit smaller, and so is the whole vehicle actually. The whole thing is actually smaller than stuff like a Nissan Frontier or a Toyota Tacoma by, actually, as far as length goes, it's between 10 and 17 inches shorter than those. And it's actually about 3 to 4 inches lower than the Frontier and the Tacoma as well. So this is probably going to be more akin to like the new Ford Maverick that's coming. It's also going to play in the same space. This is even smaller than a Ridgeline, so it kind of gives you an idea of how big this thing is. And so other things here about it are that the bed is, like I said, on the small side, and it actually measures only 4.3 feet at the bottom. At the top, it's 4 feet even because it has this built-in tonneau cover, and so there's a little feed there for that, and so that kind of cuts into the bed length a tiny bit. But so that's that. But yeah, it looks pretty nice there, and looks like it's still going to be pretty usable, although it's kind of funny, you can't even fit a bike in the bed. You kind of have to drape it over the back there, but could totally work for people that don't want an SUV and want something a little bit on the sporty side. And speaking of sporty side, this thing does have a sporty side to it, which I'll get to in a second. But yeah, I think it's going to be refreshing to have the smaller dimensions, because there's been a lot of people saying they want an actual small truck. And I mean, yes, a Tucson isn't the same size as a first-gen Ford Ranger or anything, but you know, it's smaller than what you get with everything else these days. So I think that it's going to, you know, hopefully be received well. We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, on the inside, it also is mostly the same as the new Tucson, which means it's pretty high-tech feeling with digital gauges and a large 10-inch touchscreen you can get. All that stuff is right out of the Tucson. The back seat does look to have a little bit less legroom than what you get in a Tucson, but we'll have to wait for the actual dimensions and, you know, actually sit back there to know for sure. But it just does seem that it's going to be a little bit smaller than a Tucson, unfortunately, as far as that goes. Mechanically, there's 2 engines available. They come standard with a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine from the Tucson, doing the same 190 horsepower and 180 pound-feet of torque, and that runs through a normal 8-speed automatic transmission. And then the more awesome option, though, is that you can actually get the 2.5-liter Turbo 4 that isn't available in the Tucson. Even the N-Line Tucson still runs the same naturally aspirated 4-cylinder. So this gives you that Turbo 4 that you get in all the other great stuff. In this application, it does 275 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque while running through an 8-speed DCT. And I mean, this is the same motor they use in the Genesis G80 or GV80 and the G80. I tested it in both of those. You know, it's the K5 GT, Sonata N-Line. All those run this engine. This could potentially even be called an N-Line version of the Santa Cruz here. So it's a very awesome thing they're offering this engine. It also shows, though, that this engine will fit in the Tucson engine bay most likely, since they're on the same platform and everything. So maybe there is still some hope that we'll see, you know, a Tucson with this engine down the road. So front-wheel drive is standard with both engines, but all-wheel drive is optional on both as well. And it also provides a center locking differential. And so this also shows that Hyundai is willing to do the all-wheel drive with this engine, you know, in some vehicles, because, you know, previously it's only like the Genesis models that have the all-wheel drive with this Turbo 4. Otherwise, everything else is, you know, like the Sonata N-Line is front-wheel drive, Kia K5 GT is front-wheel drive, and everyone wants those to be all-wheel drive. This shows that those two do pair up, and you can make it work. It's just a matter of whether, you know, Hyundai and Kia will allow it, you know, for their other models. But anyway, that's something you'll be able to get here in this. So if you're someone who, you know, wouldn't mind a truck and you're upset about the K5 GT and the Sonata N-Line not having all-wheel drive, if you want to sit up a little bit high, have a truck, you can kind of get the same package here in the Santa Cruz. So that's kind of an interesting little take there. But anyway, the base engine is going to be towing 3,500 pounds. This is max tow rating. The turbo engine will tow 5,000 pounds, so pretty usable as well, you know, as far as truck stuff goes. Max payload is 1,300 pounds, and it'll be built in Alabama and will be going on sale this summer. So another vehicle coming very soon here. There's no pricing yet, but I'm guessing it'll be, you know, pretty soon for pricing, considering this is right around the corner as far as its release. So great to see that. For some less awesome Hyundai news, very briefly, they just confirmed to Roadshow this past week that that awesome Staria minivan that they revealed for the rest of the world, it will be going to Europe and to, you know, Korea and all that kind of stuff, but it's not going to be coming to the United States here, unfortunately. So we're not getting it. So if you want a Korean-built minivan, you're going to have to still stick with the new Kia Carnival. You're not going to be able to find anything from Hyundai. Moving on to Nissan here this week, they have revealed the 2022 GTR Nismo Special Edition. Yet another special edition that now they just call Special Edition, I guess. And so it looks really cool, but this isn't the final non-hybrid version that was rumored last month. You know, so we'll see how many more special editions there are before, you know, that. But this version does have some nice little improvements. It's the same power figures, but Nissan did use new weight-balanced engine components to provide quicker revs and quicker turbo spooling. You know, it might be splitting hairs. It might be very, very tiny changes, but they say it's improved. Otherwise, it gets a visible carbon fiber hood, unique raised forged wheels, and this new stealth gray color, which I think actually really looks good on the GTR. And also gets the new Nissan logo on the back as well, which is cool. They say it's going to be available in North America this fall in very limited numbers, but they didn't reveal any pricing for it yet. But considering it's based on the Nismo, which starts around, what, like $220 or so, and all the extra stuff on this, you know, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it was $250. But anyway, interesting to see that. Mercedes has finally fully revealed the 2022 EQS this week. And so, over the past several weeks, they already revealed the interior, the technology, and most recently the mechanical specifications, which I covered in last week's update. So you can go watch that. I'll link it above there if you want to hear all the other stuff about the EQS. But this week, you know, I'm going to kind of gloss over all that stuff because, you know, basically it's just now we can see it without camo for the first time. And it's a familiar Mercedes design, but I think has definitely a distinctive shape because they were trying to get the best aerodynamics possible. So it's a little bit more of a, you know, egg shape, I guess, than what you would get on other Mercedes models. But otherwise, you know, kind of familiar headlights and stuff. The taillights are very unique in the back there, though, and are very cool. And everything looks very futuristic from the outside. And again, that crazy interior with that hyper screen and all that. So yeah, there's no pricing yet for those either, but they do say they'll be going on sale this fall in the US, and yeah, we'll see if it has enough appeal to pull people away from Porsche Taycans, Audi e-tron GTs, or Tesla Model S's. That's probably the kind of money it's going to be going for, something at least almost six figures, if not exactly over six figures, but going to be expensive, so we'll see how it competes with all those other ones. But I think it's a very cool look, and I'm glad we finally got to see all of what it looks like. Speaking of Audi e-trons, Audi this week has just revealed the production version of the Q4 e-tron in both regular and Sportback versions. So just a couple of weeks ago, they teased it in camo. Now we have all the details on it here and what it looks like. So it's going to be a 2022 model that arrives here in the States before the end of 2021. And I talked about some of the details that Audi revealed a few weeks ago, like how they claim the interior space is comparable to a Q7, even though it's about the size of an Audi Q3. But now that we see it without the camo, I think it looks really good. I love that they kind of kept it very similar to the concept version, very bold styling. And so what you're looking at though beneath the sheet metal is basically the Volkswagen ID.4 essentially. So it's on the MEB platform, so it does share all those components with the ID.4, but they did make it very much unique, and they reassured Autoblog and others that this isn't just some new sheet metal on an ID.4. They have the same components, but then they tune them differently, make it drive differently, and of course you have completely different components for the exterior and interior. And so yeah, but the base model, which is called the 40, has one electric motor in the back for rear-wheel drive and 201 horsepower, just like the ID.4. Then there's a 50 version that gets the dual motors and 295 horsepower, so again, just like the ID.4 there, although I think the ID.4 does 300 horsepower even, but regardless, yeah, that's that. And then the Sportback version is only going to be all-wheel drive and dual motor, so that only comes in that higher performing version. And then yeah, so if you want a rear-wheel drive one, which is kind of shocking, Audi, they're famous for their all-wheel drive, that they would even offer rear-wheel drive, but I think they're doing it mostly just to compete with everyone who wants to have the best range possible, and the way you do that is of course by not having two motors. And so speaking of that range and stuff, they both models get an 82 kilowatt hour battery that'll do about 250 miles of range in the rear-wheel drive version. I'm guessing that'll be low 200s in the all-wheel drive one. It'll be starting under $45,000 though before destination charges, and we'll even get cheaper with the $7,500 federal tax credit as well. So this is very enticing. If you're someone who's maybe not super impressed by the ID.4's looks or its interior, but you're interested in a German engineered electric vehicle that isn't $100,000, you spend an extra 10 grand over an ID.4 or something, you can get yourself one of these Audi e-trons, and I think that actually is going to go over very well. It's a good bit cheaper than the actual regular Audi e-tron SUV. The naming is getting real confusing, but the bigger one is a lot more expensive than this. I think if this has the same interior space as a Q7 or close to it, I think this is going to sell really, really well. So yeah, but yeah, so this will be coming here, like I said, before the end of this year. So great to see that. Mazda has officially confirmed a vehicle that might not be so hot here in the States. So they've confirmed that the MX-30 is coming to America. And while I'm very thankful that it is coming here, it's only coming to California by the end of this year. Now they told Autoblog that next year it will be coming to other states, with a national rollout not happening until the coming years, which sounds vague, so I wouldn't hold your breath for it to be all 50 states anytime soon. But they also say that extra states will be added based on consumer demand. And also, it's kind of unfortunate because it's the same version that Japan and Europe get, which means we only have a small 35.5 kilowatt hour battery that only does 124 miles of range on the WLTP cycle, meaning it might not even break 100 miles of range with the EPA, which, would basically put it at the very bottom of the range list as far as, even like a base Nissan Leaf, even the Mini Cooper EV is probably going to be doing more, and everyone was like railing on that thing for only having like 120 miles of range or something. This might even be worse. So yes, that is not great. A lot of us, I think, were hoping they would put a bigger battery in it here if they're going to bring it to the States, but I guess that just wasn't in the cards here. And so for those that do want less range anxiety, though, Mazda has a solution. They're offering a plug-in hybrid version, which actually does have a rotary engine range extender, which they say is nearly silent, and that will just be charging the battery, which will then be propelling the car. So it'll still drive like an electric vehicle. You're not going to have any kind of, engine revving for the sake of acceleration, really. It's just going to be running as a little generator there, and that's it. But very cool, because it'll be Mazda selling a rotary powered vehicle again for the first time in a long time, which is very cool. Unfortunately, though, this version won't be coming until the 2022 calendar year as a 2023 model, and they didn't say any specifics as far as the rollout for that one, whether that's only going to California as well or other places. But just like the BMW i3, that range extender, like I said, just charges that battery. So we'll have to see how that does, but regardless, because of that, they both have the same power specs. So they're both front-wheel drive, and they do 144 horsepower and 200 pound-feet of torque, which is also some of the lowest power figures for an electric vehicle that you can get right now currently. Not super competitive, but, hopefully they price it well and stuff to make it a little bit more enticing for people. And Mazda's president of North American operations said these two versions are part of Mazda's multi-solution approach to electrification, and that the MX-30 is just the beginning, with a plug-in hybrid coming for their new large platform, and a traditional hybrid is going to be coming for their new American-made crossover. So maybe we're talking next gen CX-5 or CX-50, whatever they end up calling that. So we'll have to wait on all that. But he said that while these powertrains will be optimized for their platforms, Mazda fans can expect great driving dynamics and beautiful design across all models. So it sounds like we're going to have lots of new Mazda models here rolling out over the next few years. And so yeah, great to see that. Just 3 weeks ago, Bentley revealed the speed version of the new generation of the Continental GT. And so this week they showed the convertible version. And it's all the same components, so there's really nothing to cover aside from the fact that you can get it in a convertible now. They also enhanced the neck warmer, they say, to be more powerful and quieter than before. So that's the only other kind of unique enhancement here for this. But they're available to order now, starting at $302,400. So cool to see that. Polestar this week has also debuted a lower cost version of the Polestar 2, and it drops the rear motor and makes the car front wheel drive only, which I think will be a nice little differentiator between this and the Tesla Model 3, which is rear wheel drive if you don't want to go for the all wheel drive versions. And I think some people get a little nervous about that in the snow belt, but they're okay with front wheel drive. It does drop the power from 408 horsepower and 487 pound-feet of torque to 231 horsepower and 243 pound-feet of torque. Otherwise, it's the same though. It's isn't stripped down really at all. Otherwise, they just say that they just wanted to basically lower the cost but not lower the experience or anything like that. And so losing all that horsepower doesn't change the range as much as you'd think, though, because it only gains 27 more miles of range from the same battery for 260 miles on a charge. So this is mostly just, again, about lowering that cost. Not even really about efficiency a whole lot. There is a new mechanical heat pump, though, they say, that you can be optioned onto these Polestar 2s now to help the range a little bit further, especially in colder climates, where it improves range by 10%. So that'll be a big differentiator, especially if you're, again, living in a snowbelt state. In the wintertime, electric vehicles can really suffer a little bit with their range. So to have, the better, 10% better is significant. And so that is great. There's no pricing for this more affordable version or for adding that heat pump or anything yet. But Polestar is also going to be adding a lower content version of the all-wheel drive version as well. For people who do want a little less frills in their Polestar 2, they'll be able to get that as well. But there's no pricing for those either as far as how much it actually brings it down by. But anyway, all these models should be arriving in the States by the end of this year. So cool to see that. Toyota this week has also teased their new electric SUV that they've been working on for several years here with Subaru, and they'll be finally revealing it'll be a close to production prototype version that'll be coming to the Shanghai Auto Show next week. And so we just have the one picture here of it, and it looks very unique, unlike any other Toyota, honestly, that we've seen so far. It's going to be similar to the RAV4 in size. And yeah, it's pretty promising there. Hopefully it does actually come to the States and we're not put on the back burner or something, because even the Toyota RAV4 Prime, it's taken them a while to even get those things ramped up to decent amounts of production, because they're just, I don't know, if there's supply constraints or what the deal is with those. But so hopefully they can find enough batteries to send some of these here to the States as well. We'll have to wait and see. I'm sure Subaru will be bringing their version here most likely as well. So we'll have to wait for their reveal, which I don't know when that'll happen, but probably won't be too much longer after this. But anyway, interesting to see that teaser, and we'll see the full thing next week. And for some unofficial Toyota news, a user on Japanese forum Kakaku, I probably butchered that, I apologize, but that's what it looks like to me. They claim to have details about the next-gen Land Cruiser that the rest of the world will be getting this summer. So, there's been talks about, are we getting it, or are we not? It sounds like we're probably not getting the next-gen Land Cruiser here. We will get the Lexus version, it seems. We'll have to wait and see. But anyway, this is kind of going through a bunch of details about, you know, different trims and options and stuff. I'm not going to get into all that stuff, but I will kind of highlight that they say it will have 2 engines available. It's kind of reaffirmed some of the other rumors we've heard in the past. They say one will be the 3.5 liter twin turbo V6 from the Lexus LS500. That'll be the main engine. It does 420 horsepower, 434 pound-feet of torque. And the other engine that'll be offered in some markets will be the 3.3 liter turbo diesel V6, doing 309 horsepower but 507 pound-feet of torque. And there will be no more V8 according to this intel, and that's been rumored for some time as well. So yeah, no big shock there. There's a bunch of other details on the site, like I said, about trims and stuff. But the biggest trim thing I will cover is that they claim a sportier GRS version is coming. That'll be like a tuned by Gazoo Racing kind of version, and that'll be available. But that it's going to basically just be focusing on, you know, more of a stripped down off-road type of buyer and someone who doesn't care about all the luxury. So it gets rid of a few of the luxury features and just kind of simplifies things a little bit. So it's going to be adding front and rear locking differentials and unique 18-inch wheels with bigger off-road ready tires, and I'm sure it's going to have unique styling and stuff like that as well. And then, yeah, so that's all we know so far, but they're claiming these new Land Cruisers will supposedly be starting production in July and be revealed in August. So, yeah, we'll see, you know, if we get all the details on it then and, you know for sure whether it actually is coming here or not and all that. But interesting to hear that. Ford this week has announced a name and a release date for their Level 2 hands-free highway driving tech that they've been promising about, and I mentioned that in my F-150 review. I'll be talking about it in my Mach-E review coming next week. So, yeah, it's going to be this new thing that's going to be coming for the Mach-E and the F-150 so far. It's going to be called BlueCruise, and it'll allow hands-free driving in blue zones, which Ford has mapped out by driving over 100,000 miles of North America so far, calling it the mother of all road trips. And they said that this was necessary because there are highway intricacies and driving conditions that you simply cannot replicate in a lab. Sending these vehicles out for real-world driving experience is just one of the many ways we ensured that BlueCruise technology offers confidence and convenience for drivers all across the continent. So, hey, I respect them for that. They're taking the time and putting in the work to really make sure this stuff actually works in the real world, which I've noticed, you know, some of the other systems, it sounds great in, you know, theory, but then in practice it doesn't work super well. Yeah, it's kind of nice that they're actually testing this stuff and, you know, doing the hands-on approach just like GM is with Super Cruise. And so anyway, this system, you know, in case you haven't been following along, it uses infrared sensors like Cadillac's Super Cruise system, so it will actually monitor the driver and be, you know, take an active role in making sure that you're being responsible with your driving and not just hopping in the back seat like Tesla owners, you know, want to try and do half the time. So, you know, it's nice that they are rolling this out safely and responsibly as well. And anyway, this technology is going to be free for 3 years, and then there is a service charge. They're not calling it a subscription, even though that's basically what it is. After that, it's about $200 a year because it's a $600 value for the first 3 years there that you get for free. And it's on all Mach-E's except the base model, but on the F-150 it will be requiring the Copilot 360 Active 2.0 package, which is a mouthful, but that is standard on the Limited and optional on Platinum, King Ranch, and even Lariat trims. You can get that as an option. So it does come pretty low down the trim range there, which is nice. It'll be pushed out as an over-the-air update sometime in the second half of 2021 for those who are, you know, signed up to get that update. And so, yeah, great to see that. And I really like the BlueCruise name. I think it really fits with Ford. We'll see what they end up branding the Lincoln version when that inevitably comes down the road. But yeah, really great to see that. Lastly, Dodge here continues to be awesome, as Dodge often is. So I mentioned in my Week With video about the amazing, you know, Hellcat Durango and how it's sold out. And I just talked about that last week. You can definitely check that video out if you haven't seen it already. But yeah, so it's been sold out for a while now. But they were able to figure out a way to make it a little bit longer. So they're still only able to make it for 6 months for the 2021 model year. That's due to emissions stuff and also supply constraints and manufacturing constraints and all that kind of stuff. So they had capped production at 2,000 units that they were going to be able to build. But I guess during the open ordering season at the dealers and stuff, there were way more than 2,000 of these ordered. And so they're going to try and build as many as possible. And they're even committing to actually build all the orders that are already in there. So if you can't run in and go order one now, but if you've been trying to get one for months or you ordered one way back when and you didn't have your order get selected to get produced or something, it sounds like Dodge is here to save the day for you. So they're going to try and build as many as possible by adjusting their supplier plans to get more Hellcat engines to the Durango production line. And they're actually pulling them from other lines. I'm guessing Challenger, because there's probably some lower volume with Challenger, and there's nothing super new with the Hellcat Challengers for, you know, a year or two here. So I guess that might have cooled off. So maybe they can pull it from there, put them into the Durango, and to make as many as possible. And I just think that's awesome. You know, if they didn't have to do that, they could say, hey, we're only building 2,000 of them. Let's make it super limited and, you know, make all the dealers be able to charge 100 grand over over sticker price and stuff. But they're not. They're like, you know what? Let's get as many of these things out into the world as we can. Let's try and ship in Hellcat engines from wherever we can get them and get it done. And it's just one of those cool, like, hey, like, it's awesome whenever, you know, car companies listen to consumers and demand and act so quickly and go to such drastic lengths as to actually, you know, pull engines from another production line and ship them over. I mean, that's all complicated headache kind of stuff from a logistics standpoint. And they're going to that trouble to get more Hellcat Durangos into the hands of customers that are waiting with their money in hand saying, take my money, and Dodge is saying, okay, let's make it happen. I really think that's really cool. And that's something you don't really hear about a whole lot. A lot of times, you know, with all other companies, they're like, well, we're only making 15 of these. Sorry, you just have to be rich and connected. And not the case here. You know, they're still trying to, you know, open them up as much as possible. And I think that is just super awesome and cool. Like I said, Dodge just continues to be awesome, and I respect them so much for that. But anyway, yeah, check out that My Week With video if you want to hear all my thoughts on that Durango Hellcat. It is fantastic, and it definitely was a fun thing to live with for the week. But yes, that's it for all the news this week, guys. So thank you guys very much for watching. Like I said, hopefully this one wasn't too bad, but I am very tired, so I'm not at my sharpest. But anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. Please continue to stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.